With our civility pledge, we pledge to promote civility by listening, being respectful of others, and acknowledging that we are all striving to support and improve our community. Roll call. Duncan is absent tonight. Barlinger, Gabriel,
Here.
Kramer,
Here.
Whitehead. Absent. Next, we will perfect and approve the agenda. Cami, any changes to the agenda tonight?
No changes.
I'll move to perfect and approve the agenda. I'll second.
All right. Barlinger,
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Kramer.
Yes.
All right. Next is citizen speak. This is time on the agenda, or this is a time for anybody who's looking to speak that wants to speak on something that is not on the agenda. Tony?
The library said Liz King on the left, sponsoring the Kids Speak last week. I went, it was all worth it. It was interesting and informative. We heard from our staff, everyone primary was there, gentleman running for state senate. We were able to ask questions, and I know it was a long day for the library. That meeting went on for 2 hours. So they must have been tired, but I hope they continue to do it, and I think it was appreciated by everyone there. I did have a question for the group running for supervisor. My question was, what are you planning to do if elected to protect county water and reduce carbon emissions as the whole world is talking about? And I handed out information, I think I gave all of you a news article by our state geologist, a very fine gentleman named Keith Schilling, who is at the university. And this was in December 2023 register, and he explained what he needs in a simple way we could understand. We need to study our aquifers. We don't know, look at a checking account. We don't know how much money we have in the bank. And the next day, on Friday, the Gazette had a front page story on what he had asked for in December. He'd been awarded some money. I called him the next day, and he was very grateful that we were handing out his keys and talking about his needs. And he said, they got $250,000. It's a start, but it's nothing. And we need to stay on elected officials and the legislature to encourage support for all the studies that he is able and willing to do. And I have to say, after the meeting, I was able to talk to Rod Sullivan, the supervisor currently, and in the parking lot. And he told me that the water study that Solon contributed $1,000, and we didn't have anything in the paper about it anywhere. This was, I think, last year, or maybe they passed that May of 2022. And he said that's coming ready in December 2024. And he's going to come to Solon. I said, we don't know about it. It's not discussed. It's not in the papers. He's going to come to Solon to a meeting and present what he received from this study. And we will be able to have the press, the economists, possibly ask questions, but at least listen to and learn about what's happening. And thank you for your time. In conclusion, what Mr. Schilling said to me is our responsibility, all of us, to keep elected officials aware and on top of water issues and see that things are funded, because there's no support, there's no information available. So thank you very much, and I hope I ask all of you to read those 2 articles. They're well written and educated. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tony. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on an item that is not on the agenda? All right, that takes us down to consenting the agenda. That's the approval of the minutes from May 15th regular meeting, approval of the list of bills, treasurers, reports and transfers, building permits. There are a few, and then we have 3 different liquor licenses, it looks like.
Any issues with any of the liquor licenses?
No issues.
I will move to approve the consent agenda. And then I'll second.
Right, Barlinger,
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Kramer.
Yes.
All right, takes us down to the fire department report. There will be an agency meeting on the 18th, I believe, to finalize the budget before the start of the next fiscal year at the pancake breakfast on Memorial Day weekend. Looked like pretty good turnout up there as well. And,
Just under 2,400 is what Susie shared.
Otherwise, I know they're going through some interviews. They are a couple short of the 35 member target that they're looking for. So if anybody is interested or knows of anyone, reach out to the fire department for that. All right, sheriff's office. Anyone go for it?
I do not.
All right. Public Works, Scotty.
I know you guys were made aware of it, but Tim Stahl submitted his retirement notice effective the end of the day on January 5th, 2024. Job fulfillment notices were posted in city facilities website and on Facebook, and it will be in the Sullivan Commons. Splash pad officially opened on the 31st. Home Serve USA rolled out their Service Line Warranties of America information, and this was mailed to residents, and Cami has posted it on the website, notification on Facebook also. I don't know if I told you that the new chassis arrived for the F-550. We're still waiting on the service body to get done and taken to Des Moines. We had 2 separate service line repairs done on private properties. Both happened on the same day. I think a couple of these people wish they would have had a warranty or insurance. So it's rolling out at a good time. Also South Slope, and Central Cable, or that's South Slope hired Central Cable. They're going to be doing another large bore operation in town. I have not met with them yet. I requested a meeting and for them to go through the right-of-way permit application process, but it's a rather large bore project again, so it's gonna eat up a lot of time and locates. That's it.
All right. Library report, Liz.
Yes, I will show off my shirt. So summer reading has started. When you turn in your first slip, you'll get one of these great shirts from Hills Bank. They sponsor our t-shirts every year. We're very grateful for that. We've seen a huge amount of participation already. Kickoff party had 263 people enjoying our foam party and all kinds of fun outdoor activities. We hosted story time at the splash pad, and thanks for getting that open and everything set up for us. We had 107 people listening to story time with Lily at the splash pad on Tuesday because we were an election site, so we couldn't have our story time there. So that was a thrilling number, and sounds like lots of fun was had there. In the afternoon yesterday, then we had the mobile planetarium from the Science Center in Des Moines. So 2 options of time slots for that. 36 people attended the first one and 47 the second. We also have our summer library clerks have started, and boy, if I could keep them forever all year, it would be amazing. This was their first week and they are already significantly impacting our workload and just making everything during the summer that much more fun and helpful. Summer reading, so it goes from June 1st till July 31st. It is for all ages, and I greatly encourage adults to participate as well. We have special prizes and things that were selected just for adults. You have 2 options. You can read as an adult, which is a junior fiction chapter book up through adult, or you can also be a caregiver. We recognize that a lot of times you're reading picture books most of the summer, and therefore you can get credit that way too. And then as well, you can collect secret codes by attending activities, and you can also turn that in for our different prizes. So that is everything I know, unless anybody has any questions for consideration. But yes, please visit, come and enjoy all the fun this summer.
Thanks, Liz.
Thanks, Liz.
All right. Dave.
Yes, can you hear me all right? So a few things to update. Trail Ridge, the contractor was working on the subgrade repairs. They did a proof roll, found a few soft areas. Should have that ready to go for the north side of 382 to try to get that paved in the next week or so. I think they're going to try to get that prepped and get started on that, weather permitting. Working with Scott on Prairie Rose Lane to try to get that area of pavement on the east end that is in bad shape, get some plans ready for that so we can get that repaired. And then on the wastewater plant project, we have a few things that we're working on, getting ready to do a press campaign for that, where we'll provide information to the public to give an overview of the schedule of the project and some of the details, and try to put together information that we can put on the city's website and also provide some information to the council as an overview in case there are questions. So we're working on getting that put together. I think, Cammy, the first iteration of that should run on June 14th, I believe.
We're
Or
gonna push
ready on
that
the
back.
14th?
We're gonna
Okay.
push that back a week, Dave, just because I didn't realize Susie was gone this week and I wouldn't have the time that I typically had. So I talked to the paper, we're gonna push it back till the 19th or the 20th. So
Okay. All right, so that's coming. We're planning on next Monday touring the West Liberty facility to look at their solids handling process. And then we're still waiting for some information from vendors. We've been getting information from them. However, in order to make sure that we're getting an equal comparison for each option, we've been sending them some information back as we get questions from others and continuing to refine that so we can put together that anti-deg report. So that's what I have. And unless there are any questions, I've got to drop off for another meeting.
All right. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Kevin?
I don't have anything work related. As some of you know, I'm kind of a history buff. So tomorrow is the 80th anniversary of the D-Day landing. So just want to make sure people think about that for a while and what happened on that date.
All right. Next, we have a proclamation for the Women's Veterans Day, June 12th on this. So the Solon American Legion Auxiliary Post 460 reached out to Cammy with this that I learned from it as well is that the women weren't recognized within the military early on with that. So I think this is a great proclamation. I'll read through, then there will be open house at the Legion as well on the 11th, I believe, with that. So the proclamation is, while women have served in the American military since before we became a nation, they were not officially recognized as military members or veterans until 1948, when President Harry S. Truman signed the Women's Armed Services Integration Act on June 12th. Whereas today, when women make up 20% of new recruits, 16% of personnel serving on active duty, and 19% of the National Guard and Reserve Forces. And whereas through their selfless sacrifice, courage, dedication, and honorable military service, women veterans have safeguarded our heritage and freedom while providing valuable service and expertise to our society. And whereas women veterans have been leaders not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also at the forefront of numerous major progressive social change movements in history, paving the way for future generations to enjoy the unalienable rights, duties, and responsibilities afforded equally to all residents of the United States of America. And whereas Solon, Iowa is committed to supporting and recognizing the bravery of all women actively serving our country and all women veterans, including those who have made the ultimate sacrifice and laid down their lives to protect our state and country. Now, therefore, I, Dan O'Neill, Mayor of Solon, Iowa, do hereby proclaim June 12th, 2024 as Women Veterans Day in Solon and surrounding areas. And I encourage all people in our community to join me in honoring women veterans for their outstanding achievements and invaluable contributions to our country. Thank you for coming tonight.
Yeah, okay. Kathy, I'll talk a little bit about the reception on the 7th or on the 11th.
There are 16 women veterans in Solon that we will be honoring. And they have either been raised in Solon, they live in Solon, they work in Solon, or they're Legion members. With it. We're just having a nice, simple little reception from 6:30 to 7:30. And our mayor will come again around 7 o'clock and present the proclamation for the public to see. And the women will also receive a little lapel pin that says Woman Veteran and honor and respect for it. And it's something that kind of started on the national level with the auxiliary, and a lot of states are doing activities and recognizing women. And we just thought this is our simple way of saying thank you for your service to the women in this area.
Want to get a picture with the mayor? So I gotta be.
What, yeah, you got me.
You guys, let's go stand by the mayor.
Jean, Marilyn, yeah.
What was reception be on?
At the Legion.
I'm right behind you. Go, Jean, go.
You wanna do both sides?
We put a couple on each side.
Let me see. Yeah, you can just tap that or tap the,
Oh, okay.
yeah. Big couple.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Yes, we'll see you Tuesday night. Thank you.
Well, you won't see me.
Oh, okay.
I'll be in Germany visiting one of those active females.
That's awesome.
Yeah, looks great.
That takes us down to old business. So ordinance at number 484, the zoning code amendments. This is the second reading, or is this the second or?
This one's the
This is second, okay. The second reading of the amending zoning code for fences, easements, and retaining walls. Any questions, comments, concerns with the second read?
I'll move to approve ordinance 484.
Second. Barlinger,
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Kramer.
Yes.
All right. Next, we have ordinance 485, the water rates. This is council discussion possible action on the second reading of the ordinance for amending water rates. Any questions, comments, or concerns with the second reading?
I'll move to approve ordinance number 485.
I'll second.
All right, Barlinger,
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Kramer.
Yes.
Next, we have ordinance 486, the sewer rates. Discussion possible action on the second reading, amending sewer rates and the sewer debt fee. Questions, comments, or concerns?
I'll move to approve ordinance 486.
All right, Barlinger,
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Kramer.
Yes.
All right. Move into new business. So this Johnson County Sheriff's Office Law Enforcement Agreement. This would be discussion possible action on a new law enforcement agreement that would take us for the next year. That would be effective July 1st. Kim?
Yeah, a little background. So we typically run on an annual law enforcement agreement cycle. But during budget session, you'll all recall, there was a lot of discussion about going into some kind of a longer term contract, potentially a 5-year contract. As we move through spring, I think the sheriff and I realized that we really didn't have the time needed to really invest in that longer term contract, but we have a contract that expires on June 30th, so we needed something in place. So the police committee, which is Andrew, Lauren, and then Dan's been also leading those groups, have met with the sheriff's department a few times this year to just talk through what that longer term contract may look like, and then also what we need to get in the short term contract to be able to encourage, to ensure coverage while we work through that longer contract. The goal is to have that longer 5-year contract finished before the end of this year. Brad actually sent me a draft over this morning, and I'm meeting with him on Friday, and then I'll coordinate a time for the committee to again meet with Brad and his team here to start those conversations. The contract itself is, has a hourly increase of $53. That was the dollar amount that was agreed at budget time, and we're increasing from 40 hours to 45 hours in this contract. And then there's, and then of course that 5-year contract will have a schedule for those future years. One of the things that's come up in our conversation several times is animal control. And because of that, we know that the committee wants to incorporate some animal control in the longer term contract. But they also asked for it to be included in this 1-year contract. And so Brad has included that in there. One thing that I think is important to note is that the sheriff's office, the contract says the sheriff's office will bring strays to a holding location within the city. However, the city doesn't currently have a holding location. So that's something that we're gonna have to incorporate, Scott, into these conversations of that longer term agreement, so that we can figure out, if we're gonna ask this of the sheriff, then the city needs to provide that location. One of the things that Scott and I learned today is, we have a contract with Cedar Valley Humane Society, and they do offer 24-hour service for animal pickup for cat and dog. So that is something that we'll have to evaluate, is creating our own holding cell and transporting animals more cost effective than just having them do it. And that's something we'll have to sort through here in the next few months. The other thing I want to make sure that we're clear about is that approving this contract with this language in it does not mean that goes into effect July 1st. It means we can enact that part of the contract when we're ready, when we have a plan. We don't have a plan right now, but the committee really wanted to see that language. And Andrew and Dave, Dan, if you want to speak to that, please share your ideas.
Yeah, no, and thanks for talking through that. There's a few points I was gonna bring up, but you covered those. Where the big ones is that we wanted to get the language in there. We know it's not turnkey ready tomorrow or July 1 for that. And so I think just through the conversations with the sheriff's department, that we know that we need to do something. We aren't completely ready yet, but we needed to get a contract ready to be agreed on with the July 1 go live date with that. And so definitely want to have further conversations with staff to find the ideal spots, do some kind of the best value analysis, see which one makes the most sense, even if there's one that's a higher cost, if it's fewer headaches for the city. There's a lot of things that we need to think through with that. But I do think it's very important that we get a contract through, because July 1 is going to be here before we know it with that. But otherwise, I feel like the conversations have been going very smooth with it. It's been great to get to know you guys a little bit more in the new role that I have. But really looking forward, not just for this, but a long-term agreement was the ultimate goal. But we felt a 1-year contract was safe, knowing that we tried to get a 5-year contract here fairly quickly. Any questions that you guys have, comments, thoughts on anything?
Thanks for your work on that.
Do you have anything that you'd like to talk through with the?
No, I think it was important to us. So we're bound by some things within the health code that we can't transport animals in the same places that we transport people. So in emergency type situations, we can, or we do, throw them in and we do short transports with dogs or cats, but it's generally from a scene of a crash or a crime scene where we got to do something. So it's on our end of it, when residents call us right now, and well, there's 2 dogs in particular that I think we're all familiar with. And when we get phone calls from people who have captured these strays as they're running loose, we don't have a means to do that. And so our only option is to say, hey, you can run it up there yourself, or we can contact the owners, but we don't really have a plan in place other than that. So yeah, I fully agree. We're not saying day one of this, but we just would love to see that continue to move forward as the city grows and as people who are less familiar with less populated areas that expect a certain level of service. And it just, honestly, it doesn't feel good on our end. We don't like that, telling people that. We don't like people telling, hey, this is your 2 options. But unfortunately, it's the only thing that we have, so we just love to see a third option, and someday down the road.
I'll second.
All right, Barlinger,
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Kramer. All right, that takes us down to item 19, the Board of Adjustments variance for Eric Waddell. Kim?
On May 22nd, the Board of Adjustment met and they reviewed a variance, a request for a height variance, from Eric Waddell. I'm sure most of you recall that Eric and, his group, which is Eric Smallstead and John Glick, have proposed the same building, had proposed the same building last year in Fox Ridge on two commercial lots. That particular design was not approved by planning and zoning. It was approved by the council and then vetoed by then Mayor Steng. What has transpired since then is we've had a position taken by our city attorney that our code does not allow 3-story buildings. And I brought that to the council and said our options is that we can ask the Board of Adjustment to provide an interpretation of the code, or the code could be changed. The council asked that the code be changed. P&Z did the work in the spring. They spent 3 months looking at the code with Kevin and I, and they provided the language, and that's the ordinance. That was the second reading of the ordinance today. So the solution to that inconsistent interpretation has been taken care of. What that means, though, is that the 3-story building is not allowed per code. And so the only avenue was the Board of Adjustment to ask for the height variance. And so that's what was submitted. The code says 2.5, not to exceed 2.5 stories and not to exceed 35 feet. The new, once we get to the third reading, it's gonna say 2 stories not to exceed 35 feet. The feet is, here's the peak, here's the eaves. It's halfway between that distance. That's how you measure the height on this type of a building. What the board listened to the applicants, and they had a lot of discussion about the purpose of the height requirement. And one of the purposes for the height requirement when the zoning code was adopted was because the city does not have a ladder truck, and the city still does not own a ladder truck. So that height is a concern if you're going to have residents living in those upper stories. The height variance was granted because they felt that the change in interpretation of the code is not the fault of the applicants. And they felt that they would like the applicant to have the opportunity to submit a rezone in an application. Approval of the height variance does not approve the building. It does not approve the rezoning. That still has to go through planning and zoning and city council for the rezoning, and planning and zoning and city council for the site plan. All this does is open the door so that the applicant can submit an application for rezoning and a site plan. That's what this height variance does. The city council does not have the ability to overrule the Board of Adjustment. Your two options are to approve it or send it back for reconsideration. Is everybody clear on the location? It's in the lot in front of Light Windows that's along the highway. Okay, so it was originally proposed in Fox Ridge. What they're proposing now is there in that lot right in front of Light Windows. Okay.
With the variance granted by Board of Adjustments, just want to make sure that I understood all that correctly, is that they really wanted to go, it will still go back to P and Z for review. But since the code is in the process of being changed and there was different interpretations before that they granted it, so that the application can move forward and still go through the process of being reviewed by P and Z and council.
Absolutely.
Makes sense to me.
Do we have a motion to accept the variance?
I'll move to accept the variance for Eric Weddell.
I'll second.
All right, Farlinger,
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Kramer.
Yes.
All right, that takes us down to item 20, another Board of Adjustment variance for Becky Cook.
At that same May 22nd meeting, there was a variance request, a side yard variance request for, to replace a deck and then add an enclosed porch. This is on 331 West Silver Street, and for reasons we're not really sure, the house was built almost on the property line. And it was also built pre-current zoning setbacks. So because the house does not meet our current zoning setback requirements, it's considered a non-conforming structure, and you cannot enlarge a non-conforming structure. So, once you cover a porch, now you are adding to the overall size of the principal structure, which is the house. And so they had determined a 7-foot side yard setback was needed, and the board did grant that on the 22nd.
If this is approved, that would be able to go through without any review.
That would go right to building permit.
Questions, comments, concerns?
Concern from staff, but they want
Are you aware of any concerns with staff?
No.
And
I will vote to approve the Board of Adjustment variance for Cook.
Second.
Farlinger,
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Kramer.
Yes.
All right, that takes us down to other business. We have no update from streets, utilities. There are a couple ordinances on there, the water and sewer ordinances as well as Gallery Acres West. And
Yeah, Kevin's put together the operating agreement for Gallery Acres West that has to do with the sewer, the water main that's within the city limits. It's also got he's also put together an ordinance of several water and sewer revisions that Scott has requested. So we will have the utilities committee review those before they come to council.
No, we have no updates on finance. With personnel, John, I'll be getting with you and Lauren for Cammie's annual review that we have with that. We'll likely have a closed session following one of the meetings as we have in past years as well. Building needs and growth. We'll have a development meeting still to be scheduled. Have another police committee meeting to be scheduled. Cammie, do you know what time the meeting is on Friday that you have with Brad?
8 a.m.
8 a.m. Okay. Based on how I'm doing, I'm going back in for third shift that night. I may tag along if
Sure.
I'm not running on fumes. And then on the 19th, we will have the joint meeting with the school board. That start time will be at 5 o'clock. Rather than 5:30, it will be early in the agenda and we'll just roll through. So we'll just start a little bit early. All right, Susie's out this week. Cammie, anything?
There's been no items submitted for planning and zoning, so no planning and zoning, is scheduled for this week. And then also, Music on Main starts this evening, and we just wanted to make sure we, acknowledge Nancy Upmeyer. Nancy Upmeyer has volunteered for as many years as I can remember. She coordinates the lineup. She does all the work associated with this, and tonight's the kickoff. So another great lineup for that is planned for the summer, and also just a shout out to Nancy for her love and dedication for keeping music alive on Solon Main Street.
Council comments?
I just wanted to say nice job to the library and library board for the garage sale, getting everything set up for the last weekend, Friends Library. Brings a lot of people into town and I know it puts a strain on especially, some of our city services and, trash and recycling, but, it's just great to see how many people it brings to town and, just did a great job coordinating and setting everything up and making sure it was easy to return everything. So thank you.
I'm just ditto on everything that the library's been doing. I know all the kids are excited about the summer reading programs and parents are very grateful for it. And I just want to say that I'm glad that our town joined in on the proclamation for women's veterans. As a service member, greatly appreciate it when we're recognized, my sisters in arms are recognized and respected.
All right, next mayor comments. I don't have any tonight, other than thanks for the flexibility for our next council meeting. Will help me get to first pitch on time. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
All right, second. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right.